Hello there, my name is Edward Charles Richmond. I'm a computer science graduate, member of the BCS, the Chartered Institute for IT, and I've been in the tech industry now for about 16 years, which is just over half my life, which is quite crazy, and I think that's plenty of qualification really. These little videos are knowledge reinforcement for people that I've been mentoring, just on the basics of computer use and internet use, and how to send email and do administration and all kinds of topics like that really. The topic of today's video is going to be how to reply to emails, and obviously how to keep everybody in the email, how to forward an email, the formatting and all that kind of thing. I should say that although we're using Outlook, which is Microsoft's email program, the knowledge can be applied to Gmail, and it can be applied to your own email system if you set up your own email service. It can be applied to different email programs such as Thunderbird. It can be applied to email services such as Proton.me. So you're not limited to just using Outlook, although I'm demonstrating it using Outlook. And I would highly encourage you to go out and get comfortable using different email services, because you don't know if you're going to walk into a work environment one day and they're going to use a completely different system. So it's the fundamentals that you need to get used to, rather than one system. If you can master using the basics of what email is and what it does, and how to identify how you reply and edit and format an email, and also how to work with multiple accounts. It doesn't really matter what your program is, whether you're using a desktop application, a mobile application, a web interface, or if you really wanted to be very clever, you could use the terminal as well, which we've discussed in previous videos. I wouldn't recommend that, if I'm honest. It's a bit long in the tooth these days. Art Attack style, I have prepared a folder which we'll look into in a moment. My friend Andy is still here. He's covering some personal information and some accounts that I don't want exposed. And of course you can still check him out at meltonbyhoney.com. Locally produced honey in Yorkshire, not the tap that you get at the supermarkets. A little bit more expensive, but honestly I promise you it's worth the extra few bob. And you can always contact Andy. If you've got any issues, you actually speak to a person, not a customer representative in some foreign country, or you're not waiting hours and hours and hours, days for a response. The issue will get resolved immediately, and he still has to stick to the same standards as you would expect any big company to do as well. So with all that said, if you want some honey, go to meltonbyhoney.com and get yourself some amazing honey. And now let's look at email. So I have created this folder, emails from Edward, and as per the last video, we have a rule: any email that comes from Edward, that's me, goes into emails from Edward. So if you've not watched that video, go and have a look at the creating an Outlook rule, which again, all the knowledge that we apply from that video can be applied to any email system. And what we're going to do is we're going to reply to this email from Edward. Now it looks like he sent a PDF file, so that's awesome. And we've got a couple of options, right? We can reply, so we can just click on that and we can reply directly to Edward. And there'll just be the hello at Freelance Guy address, us replying to Edward. So there's only really two people in the conversation. Or alternatively, we could copy somebody into the email. Maybe we want to copy a manager, or we want to copy customer services, or we want to copy a secretary or something like that in. Maybe Edward has an assistant in his dreams, something like that, or if we really think we need to escalate this, we can BCC. BCC means blind copy, and effectively these are the situations I would use this in. So if I was working in a customer support arena and a customer sent me a particularly abusive message, I would type my manager's email into the BCC box and reply to the customer that I'm escalating it to my manager. And then send the email to the customer, but my manager still gets a copy of that email. And my manager can then decide on what to do. The same could be said for some systems have a email address, and if you are replying directly to a customer, you can BCC that customer's unique email address on the software system, and it will put that email on the software system so that the account is always up to date. Likewise, it might be that you are replying to a member of the public and you want to copy a let's say you're a politician or something like that, and you need to copy your assistant in, or a legal team or something like that, or you want to just copy in somebody a bit more senior. Maybe you've just started a new role, and your boss has said, can you copy me into all of your emails? Well, it's a bit embarrassing if you are copying your boss into every single email. So BCC, blind copy, is a bit more appropriate. So those are the reasons I would use BCC. Now in this case, we can just say, hi Edward, thanks for the file, we'll come back to you soon. And then usually you would round that off with many thanks, or kind regards, or if it's a bit of a serious email or something like that, just regards, and then hello at freelance, if I can spell, freelance guy. So then there's a few options. We can interact with the text here, so we can bold it, make it italic, underline it, change the font, so we get all these fonts here. There's lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of fonts. We can make the text bigger. Got some styles, so maybe we want it to be a title, or we want it to be strong, or a quote, or an intense quote, book title. Maybe we want to do some indenting, or make it a list. I don't think that's very helpful. And these three dots here within the formatting area also has a clear formatting option, so we can actually just get rid of any formatting that we've done. Of course, we might want to send a file back to Edward there. So we've got this paperclip here, and I think this is quite ingenious. The designers have really gone to the lengths of trying to translate what happens in a real world scenario. So if you're working with paper documents, it's usually the case you whack a paperclip onto any attachments to the document. You don't staple them together. You use a paperclip to attach a document or a relevant article to a document that you're going to give to somebody. So it's literally a paperclip that you use to attach a document to an email. We can also use templates signatures. So this one is the main one. I need to edit that and get rid of the logo, but in this case this is the logo that I use, the signature that I use for my emails. So you can see there's my MBCS professional member picture that I can use because I'm a member of the BCS, and then there's my name, and I say always warmest regards. So we can create multiple of those, and that just saves us a bit of time worrying about how we're going to reply to emails. We can set the priority, so we can set this as high importance or low importance. Is this a high priority email really? We're just saying thanks for the file. Well, I don't really think it is. So it's just low importance. We can have the computer read it aloud to us. I don't think it needs to do that. We can have the editor check for spelling, grammar, and writing suggestions. And although it's already there, we can have the program show the BCC fields and check for accessibility as well. Obviously, you can see there I have to click the 3 dots here for more commands. So obviously, one of the hidden ones there was check for accessibility. Some people have visual issues or hearing issues. They have certain readers on their computer to help them with email. So if you're sending out an email and you've made the text all wacky colours, and you've decided to make every other letter size 100, that email is going to be very difficult for them to read, and also it's going to be displayed very bizarrely on their screen, and some readers may not pick that up properly. If they've got hearing issues or visual issues, or if you're using colours, some people are obviously colourblind, so they may not necessarily see that properly. So it's always best to just check for accessibility issues. With this one, of course, I don't think there will be any issues. It's just normal text. Obviously, you might see that as a black background with white text, but that's just because I use a black or dark background colour scheme. It's just to save my eyes looking at lots of white. That's not good for you. I use the darker background. So actually when it sends, it will convert that to whatever the default is on the recipient's computer. So we can now send that, and Edward will receive it. So then we can look at reply all, and you'll notice Edward gets copied in, and so do we. Now usually if you are clicking reply all, you would have multiple recipients. You wouldn't copy yourself into an email because it'll go into your sent folder. So ideally this is for times where there are lots of recipients. Perhaps you're on a committee or something like that, or a council, or you're on a community group, or you're working on a team to build something, and someone sends you an email and they say this is happening, can I get everyone's opinions? So you hit reply all and you give them your opinion and you send it, and that copies everybody in. Everybody knows where you stand, and there can be no dispute about that. So in this case, I don't need to send an email to myself, to the hello address, and we've already replied to Edward, so I don't need to do that. But what I can do is I can forward this. Okay. So you notice Edward is no longer copied into this, into the email. And we get FW at the front, which means forward. And, I can maybe say social at Edddie, which is another email address I use, another shared inbox. So, you're more than free to email that, but it doesn't really go anywhere. And we can say, hi, my manager, let's say, in quotes. Here's the file from Edward. Kind regards. Hello at freelance guy. So in this fictional scenario, hello at freelance guy is emailing this social address here, and it's going to the manager, and we are forwarding this report here. So Edward doesn't know about this, and all we're going to do now is just send this report to the other address. So if I click send, a copy of that report is sent to the manager in this situation, and Edward doesn't know. It's a completely new email, and it just sends the contents of the original message from Edward to the social email address. So that's sent, and you can now see there's a little blue arrow that denotes it's being forwarded. And we now have just finally, we have an example of BCC. So what I want to draw your attention to is the email says, we're learning email. We've tagged a BCC example in this message. So it looks like Edward's emailed himself, but yet we still have a copy of the email. And the reason for that is, despite Edward sending a message to himself, or me sending a message to myself, it's weird talking in different tenses. The hello address still gets a copy because they were BCC'd. So in theory, I don't know about this email because it just looks like Edward has emailed himself. And if I wasn't me, obviously I wouldn't know this address had got a copy of the email. Hopefully that makes sense, and you understand that if you BCC someone into an email, the other person, the other recipient, won't know unless they are closely associated with that person, or that other person discloses that they've received a copy of the email. Which might happen, obviously, if you're reporting abuse or something like that, or naughty behaviour, then they probably will act on it if they are obliged to. So that's something to be aware of. And I think that about covers this topic. So I'm going to round off the video. Again, do feel free to go and buy some honey from meltonbeehoney.com. It's lovely. And if you've got any questions, do feel free to drop me an email, and it will come to the address that we've been looking at today, hello at freelance guy. So hello at freelanceguy.co.uk, and I promise it will come through, and I will be able to respond to it as appropriate. I may even make another video if it's a bit confusing. So thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video.